Hi everybody, it's Dr. Wenlin, and today I want to talk to you about reading at home with your child during school closure. This can create a lot of opportunities for us, but it can also be really challenging. So we know that you're reading at home with your child, and this isn't new, but when we read at home with our kids, it's usually for joy and just to pick literature that we like reading and it's really fun. When we read at school, we like to use this as an opportunity to teach kids how to use text to employ strategies for critical thinking and predicting that they hopefully will carry them with them through their entire lives as they become lifelong learners and lifelong readers. So today I'm just going to give you a few tricks of the trade, and hopefully you can use them with your child, or you can have your child watch this video so that he or she can be reminded of things that their teacher has already taught them. So it doesn't matter if your child's a beginning reader or an experienced reader. When your child is reading, we want them to be thinking the entire time. One of the ways that we teach kids to do this is by making notes or talking intermittently while they read. So, for example, the first thing we want to do is get the brain ready to take in information and activate schema. Schema is made up of things we already know. It helps our brain remember new information. So for example, if I'm doing a picture book with my child, I would show them the title and we might look through the entire book of the pictures, and I would ask questions like, this book is called Crazy Hair Day. Do you remember when you had Crazy Hair Day? What do you think is going to happen in this story? So that in their brain, it's getting ready to hear information about that and make some connections to the text. If you have a more experienced reader at home and they're reading thicker books like this, you want to do the same thing. You might look at the picture at the front and read the description in the back of the book to see if your child makes any connections. And before they ever read anything in the text, we want them to jot down what they think this book is going to be about. Now, when you're reading a shorter book with your child, you want to stop every 3 to 4 pages and have them summarize key events or make predictions throughout the story. It might help them to connect with the main character. So for example, in this book, I modeled on this page what I would do. I would be reading up to this point, and then I wrote, I understand that Stanley is very excited about Crazy Hair Day, so I see it coming as a reader. Much to my children's pleasure, I made them practice this strategy with me. And so my son on this page made a notation that Stanley's friend is trying to help him. So as he's reading, he's seeing the progression of the character relationships. And by the end of the book, we would have our kids on a Post-it note or in a journal just summarize what was the story about. A summary is not every single detail about the book. It's just a basic understanding of what happened at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And just for fun, it's always a good idea to say, who would you recommend this book to? Why or why not? If you have a more experienced reader, it really isn't practical to expect them to make notations every 3 to 5 pages. So in a thicker book like this, you would want your child to stop at the end of every chapter, give them a Post-it note or a piece of paper, and have them say at the end of chapter 4, this was the main event, this is what happened, and then we have them predict, here's what I think will happen in the next chapter of this story. At the end of the book, they should be able to have a paragraph written summarizing key events and maybe even text evidence. For example, the character was a really good friend. I noticed this on page 46 when it showed that she gave her lunch money to somebody that didn't have any. So we want them to start looking at the text more critically and making those comparisons verbally and in writing. So we want to build those skills together. We also have kids reading expository or nonfiction text, which is usually the text that we see in textbooks. This is a little bit more different because there aren't characters to connect with. So we teach kids different strategies. I'm going to link a few websites if you need access to materials that are nonfiction, such as News ELA. Right now they have free trials all over the place. This is just one place that you might find this resource. When we look at articles, we tell kids to take the headings and the titles and turn them into questions that they should be able to answer at the end. So for example, when we look at this article, you see that there's headings and then there's a paragraph. So we would take the heading of an article, turn it into a question, have the child read the paragraph, and at the end, they should be able to answer the question. If the article is on climate change one of the questions I might formulate before ever reading is, what is at least one way people can positively influence climate change? I would read the article, and at the end, I should be able to understand that question better and provide a response. These are just a few tips. Just do the best you can. We know you're trying. Daily reading is really important, and don't undervalue the importance of listening comprehension. That's a very separate skill. So having your child listen to books from famous authors on YouTube, listening to you read, or reading books on Audible always help the listening comprehension, and they can still do the same strategies. I'm going to pick a title. What do I think this book is going to be about? I'm going to pause the reader intermittently. I'm going to write a response on a Post-it note or on a piece of paper or talk about it with somebody. And at the end, I'm going to summarize what the story was about. We hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your school principal. Be safe and be well.